Thanks to David Cronenberg's wife for playing a great set earlier. Well, I always kind of like to be surprised. I don't want to be told what happens after I die. Death is like a mystery gift wrapped up in a box, sent from infinity and stamped with question marks. Everyone's got theirs and I've got mine. People shake it, weigh it, discuss it all the time. I tend to think there's nothing at all in it, but it's cool that I could find out any minute. And I whistle past the graveyard when I walk, 'cause I don't want to hear the corpses talk. I don't want to hear them grumble and complain, or discuss how much they want to eat my brain. And I always kind of like to be surprised. I don't want to be told what happens after I die. No, I don't want to hear the corpses talk. And I whistle past the graveyard when I walk. Well, if we lived forever, we'd really want to find out. But what a relief, we all die, so there's nothing to worry about. Some people say that life is empty, some say it's meaningless, and some say that that isn't such a bad thing if it is. And some say that I'm wrong, and when I die, I'll go to hell. But I'd be happy just knowing that there was a point, so it's just as well. People assume you'll suffer there, they just think you're selfish. If I was in hell, I'd be glad knowing other people were in heaven. It would make it not so hellish. And I whistle past the graveyard when I walk, 'cause I don't want to hear the corpses talk. But I want black cats to cross my path, and I pick up bad pennies. I say if there's monsters in my closet, then come and get me. Yeah, but I always kind of like to be surprised. I don't want to be told what happens after I die. No, I don't want to hear the corpses talk. And I whistle past the graveyard when I walk. Walking up 23rd Street, I was tired and alone. It was late, my housemate would be asleep when I got home. The sign ahead, glowing red, said the Chelsea Hotel, where Sid Vicious and my friend, drug dealer Dave, once dwelled. The street was black under my feet, which continued their walking, though I was vaguely interested in the folks behind me talking. Two guys, maybe gay, wearing raver-type suits, and a girl wearing glasses who looked kinda cute. Her hair was brown and curly, she had a tattoo on her back, which I could see, 'cause her red shirt was sleeveless with straps. But I only saw this later, not in my first glance, though I could hear them talking behind me, and as if by chance, she was trying to describe a song I knew well. Leonard Cohen's song about the Chelsea Hotel. And I smiled a smile to myself when she said that it's the song where he talks about someone giving him head on a bed that's unmade, and how the song was outrageous. And that's when I got uncharacteristically courageous. I could have left the three of them laughing and just gone on home, but I turned and I faced her and I said, "Leonard Cohen?" She was shocked and surprised, but she looked very happy that she now had a witness to back up her story. She looked at me with her spectacled eyes and said, "See, I told you," to the two other guys. And my tale might have ended right there and then, except that we started talking about Leonard Cohen and how his lyrics were cool and how he sang so sincere that it must have been true, and it happened right here. Usually off the bat, women don't find me that great, and there we were, laughing and strolling like we could really relate. And though we didn't mention the headline, it was alluded, and our conversation was better because her friends weren't included. The guys weren't paying attention, at least that's how it seemed to me. So I guess I should mention I thought I heard the knocking of opportunity, although it's easy for me now, as I reminisce, to think of all the things I could have said that would have been better than this. But keep the sad truth in mind as I tell this to you. We really only talked for a minute or two, and I never got her name, and she never got mine. But in those couple of short minutes, we had a really good time. And then, on top of that, although you might not believe it, this is what she said to me next. I'll repeat it. The line about getting the blowjob that Leonard sings, she said it made her want to, quote, do naughty things, unquote. And right about then I should have asked if she knew what the Chelsea would charge if we got a room for two. But I didn't, and I know I'm a schmuck, don't you doubt it. The only thing that I did was write this stupid song about it. But if I was Leonard Cohen or some other songwriting master, I'd know to first get the oral sex and then write the song after. Because you can practice writing songs about romance every day, but if you haven't loved, then you'll have nothing to say. We could have given each other head on Leonard's same unmade bed, but I was too shy to suggest it, and so instead, when the three of them stopped to look through a pub window, I said good night, although I hadn't quite meant to, and waved as we walked, although I wouldn't forget her, especially since she mysteriously said, "See you later." So now every time I'm walking, I hope that we meet, and on purpose, I always go up 23rd Street, where the sign glowing red still says the Chelsea Hotel, where Sid Vicious and my friend drug dealer Dave once dwelled. Except that life doesn't work out the way it does in old songs. That's why we sing relatively new ones to say what really goes on. But if I could see her again and we could pick up right where we had ended, maybe I'd play her this song, and maybe she wouldn't get too offended. And if you hang out there another minute, I'll tell you why. I think there's more to this situation than meets the eye. Because you might think that it's sad, and you might think it's pathetic, that I'm still singing this song, and that she will never know it. But if you think for a bit about just what that means, you may realize that's kind of a wonderful thing, that all around the world there may be folks singing tunes for the love of other people that they barely knew. And it puts a smile on my face, yes it do. And let me tell you that you ought to be smiling too. Cause the next time you're feeling kind of lonesome and blue, just think that someone somewhere might be singing about you. So who knows, if I ever find her again, we'll see. This whole time she could have been singing about me. Probably not, but it could be. received any substantial gifts of books or CDs or records at this gig yet. Wait, no, that's not true. I did get a book, and I got, it's an interesting book. I'll check it out. But here's a song about how I'm probably going to throw it out pretty soon because too much stuff to carry around. Things that people give me have gotta go into the trash. Letters people send me, I always burn them into ash. Cause someone wants to give it, means I have to keep it. Why? I just chuck it in the trash or I'll be stuck with it till I die. A vinyl and a t-shirt from a band that I once played with, along with my name on it from a family I once stayed with. An elaborate handmade birthday card adds an extra special factor that just makes it slightly harder to stuff down the trash compactor. Because things that people give me have got to go into the trash. Letters that you send me will be read and burned to ash. Because someone wants to give it means I have to keep it. Why? I just chuck it in the trash or I'll be stuck with it till I die. Pins of homemade comic books and scene that a friend did. Gotta store it the rest of my life. Is that what he intended? You only press 9 copies of your poem book, that's great. Presented me one as a gift, guess what? Now there's just 8. Cause the endless flow of clutter has to have an exit strategy. I chuck stuff from my grandmother, tossing your tapes, not a tragedy. I know this friendship bracelet hardly takes up any space, but the same's true for 10,000 other tchotchkes in my place. So things that people give me have gotta go into the trash. Letters people send me, I always burn them into ash. Just cause you wanna give it means I have to keep it. Why? I just chuck it in the trash or I'll be stuck with it till I die. A baseball cap I got from playing at some record store. A ticket stub from Fish Hats back in 1994. The photo in a frame of your bar mitzvah or your newborn. All these little drops of rain that form a killer clutter crap storm. So straight into the trash go all these gestures of goodwill. It's only basic math, from here on out be killed or kill. These heartfelt sentimental objects soothe us and unite us, but I can't let my apartment be a mountain of detritus. So things that you might give me, I throw right into the trash. Letters that you send me will be read and burned to ash. Just cause someone wants to give it means I have to keep it. No, it's just straight into the garbage is where all the stuff must go. I'll show you the first film of the evening. Well, this one is going to be a biopic, unless that's pronounced biopic. I'm never sure. Is it biopic or biopic? Well, it's a documentary film about somebody's life. A New York City-based artist who has become so famous, I feel like not a day goes by when I don't see this person's stuff somewhere. And once you start noticing it, you realize that you see this person's art more than pretty much any other artist ever for some weird reason. How did that happen? Well, here to tell the answer is the story of Keith Haring. To Kutztown, Pennsylvania, in the east of the state, came the baby Keith Haring in 1958. He tried art school in Pittsburgh, but he didn't stay long. They taught how things were done right, except to him that felt wrong. He was gay, he was cool, he wanted sex, drugs, and art. He came to New York for school, where real adventures could start. He studied words and abstractions, funky patterns and lines. He saw unknown directions, he wanted a language and signs. In small underground clubs, he organized crazy shows. Parties where anyone's welcome, art nights where anything goes. He loved the world of graffiti, where being seen was essential. he tried ways to repeat it, using flyers or a stencil. The 1980 Times Square show was an art melting pot. Bronx and Brooklyn and Soho, a young Keith and young Basquiat. Now Keith's art was reaching into clear lines and forms where little people and creatures came in mysterious swarms. In 81 in New York, where subway ads were untaken, Keith started using white chalk to draw these forms he'd been making, and he made hundreds of drawings till the whole city could see him, and art for all kinds of people, not just inside a museum. Then he got to do animations on the big sign in Times Square. Keith's figures from the train stations were catching on everywhere. By 82, folks were paying for his paintings from home. Galleries asked to display him where famous artists were shown. And when his galleries opened, these were exciting events, because from Warhol to breakdancers were all Keith's fans and his friends. And as his art spread all over through 1983, up shot this upstart from nowhere to art world celebrity. Now in his first long relationship with big money and press, Keith's hard work and sweet nature were not changed by success. So from the old Berlin Wall to every sculpture and kid, from giant murals to small, he'd never sketch what he did. But Keith's problem with fame was his art couldn't stay free. Now if you drew on a train, it got stolen instantly. So in 1986, he launched his pop shop art stores to keep his art in the public, not behind gallery doors. Also, unlike normal artists, Keith used brave, simple text to speak on AIDS and apartheid and crack and safe sex. But no one knew about safety back when Keith had been young. AIDS took him in 1990 when he was just 31. Keith's explosive short lifetime and bold, generous heart speak like an infinite fountain from some deep wellspring of art. I guess I could say this next song is a biopic in song form. From California's land, found love and life in Sweden's. When his baby girl was born, her heart was formed from both those regions. All the beauty of the north, and all the promise of the west. She wasn't a full blood of either, but she was made of both their best. There on her mother's farm they grew through 12 long winter seasons, and her daddy sang her songs that hinted of a world of freedoms. She'd have loved to know for sure, but she was left without an answer, and could just watch as the song stopped and he was torn to death by cancer. But the questions filled her heart, just like his books still filled her shelf, until she left with a guitar to find America herself. And she searched through San Francisco, and she searched the redwood forest for the father who had missed her be a singer and guitarist. And she wondered what her life would be, in doubts of what might happen, walking lost in New York City, just a college dropout in Manhattan, in a sublet room in Harlem, holding strangers in the dark, or in sunshine heavy mornings, watching kids in Central Park. Find more clues about her father, or choose to go home to her mother, go 3,000 miles one way or 3,000 in the other. In a downtown music bar, she shows up early for no reason. Someone's on stage with a guitar, so she goes inside and sees him. And he's kind of like her dad, a balding young Jewish bohemian. And he's funny but he's sad, and she thinks maybe I won't leave again. And she doesn't know it then, but it's the love he's always needed. And sometimes lovers win, but sometimes love dies defeated. And in 5 years' time, she's free again, and Sweden calls her softly now. And she's 30 and she's beautiful, and she doesn't cry so often now. And she thinks of all the lives she's lived, and the time spent in between. And when she plays her daddy's songs, she knows exactly what they mean. Try to see your parents more, cause they're so weak and old now, but they just can't let you live without always being told how. And spend time with your child, be responsible and silent, but you lose it, then you know that you're a monster and a tyrant. It's family, so you call because you're too grown up to fume, but somehow you've hung up and thrown the phone across the room. Cause you're a weakling and a loser, you just never get it right. Down from the way that you were raised to how your own home is tonight. These are the ones you love the best, so why is it always such a mess? And what the hell's it for, since you're rotten to the core? Well, it's fun. It's just fun. Pick out someone friendly who romantically excites you. Start the hopeful dreaming of what if he or she likes you. Know that you could love them and build up a blissful fantasy that this is finally something and how good your lives would be. But then feel wretched when it's clear it's just your far-fetched dumb idea. Remember that you're lame and ugly, groan and cry, why would they love me? Why even try to cope? And why even have hope? You're disgusting, that's for sure. So what's hoping for? Well, it's fun. It's just fun. Know your only joy would be a life of creativity, so never have a moment when you're actually at liberty. Live a life where friends or relaxation leaves you irking, cause it's wasting time with nonsense when you know you should be working. First see your glowing promise as an actor or a painter, then get honest you're a hack who knows their glow is getting fainter. Then know your life's been total dirt and wish you could begin again. Then crumble one more worthless work and toss it in the bin again. You hung your head against the desk and suffered in the agony of coming face to face against that stuff that you can never be. It's lame and infantile, all the stupid, useless trial, frustrations and impatience and complete humiliations. You're just not fortunate, that's certain. So why this tortured, screaming burden? Well, it's fun. It's just fun. I took my darling out to the aquarium. Sea creatures stared at us and we stared back at them. My baby freaked when she peeked at that 8-legged blob with a beak. She was too scared to speak. I said, don't be upset, it's only an octopus. Don't bother it, and I'm sure it won't bother us. Please don't be upset, my darling, please don't get upset. My baby came riding to meet me one time on the crowded last car of the downtown bound 9. She was brave, but she caved when the train was delayed. It was just the last straw in her hard, busy day. I said, don't be upset, cause it's not a catastrophe. Nothing will happen, and soon you'll be back with me. Please don't be upset, my darling, please don't get upset. My gal's got a headache, her ankle is hurting too. The boots she bought gave her a rash, and her wisdom tooth is coming in, and it's damp out, and she's having cramps, and she's so mad at me because I didn't shave. I said, don't be upset, I know you're feeling sensitive. I'll try to be kinder and be more attentive. Please don't be upset, my darling, please don't get upset. Darling, I said, I'm gonna be 40 soon. I've only got rejection letters and a sense of impending doom, and I think it's too late for me. All the comic book companies hate me, and I try, but it's always the same, and I guess my art is just lame, and it's strange, but still somehow I'm always not suiting their needs at this time. And she said, don't be upset, you know that you're wonderful. Just keep on trying, and eventually I'm sure. No, well, it would have been nice if she said that, but what she actually said was, in reality, unfortunately, more like this. All you ever want to talk about is yourself and your comic books and your album and your tour, and every time I see your stupid friends, they just ask me where you are again. And it hurts, it makes me feel like dirt. I'm just gonna write where you are on my shirt. And I said, don't be upset, don't be in a bad mood. Let's just go to a show and hang out and feel good. Come on, please don't be upset, my darling. Please don't get upset. I'll do anything, baby, just don't be upset. Might have a nice life with coffee and friends you can call. Could have a Shakespeare collection. Might have read them all. Could have a family that made you nicer than some folks had. Could have a family that you made that isn't so bad. Well, you can build up your armor against what life brings. You can dodge when life kicks and you can duck when life swings. You can outsmart all sadness and outfight with the best. But sometimes life hits you like a chisel to the chest and you say, ow, fuck, that hurt. Ow, fuck, that hurt. Ow, fuck, that hurt. There'll be something sometime that makes you feel like you're dying. You're gonna have yours, and I'm gonna have mine. Could have a nice home with flowers and cool modern loot. Could have a sweet job, short hours, and an easy commute. Could have a partner, feel lucky, with best love and wishes. Cute kittens and puppies and tropical fishes. Well, you can quote from philosophers or Bibles or songs and find hope in the hopeless and find right in the wrongs. You can wear art and wisdom like a bulletproof vest. But sometimes life hits you like a hammer to the chest and you say, ow, fuck, that hurt. Ow, fuck, that hurt. Ow, fuck, that hurt. Someday it's just your time to feel like you're dying. You're gonna have yours, and I'm gonna have mine. Fine. Oh, you think anyone who ever lived got through and enjoyed it? But somehow you, yeah, right, you're gonna avoid it. Well, you can buy full insurance against fire and theft, and you can zig to the right, and you can jab to the left. No bad health, bad breakups, or bad luck or death, but life will hit you someday, somehow, like a chainsaw to the chest, and you'll say, well, you're gonna look at a lot of options of things you might possibly say, potential things you could say at that time. I think a lot of people have put a lot of effort into trying to come up with something that might help. In fact, probably most human culture that has ever been created might conceivably be thought of as desperate attempts to come up with some combination of words or thoughts or images or incantations, spiritual belief systems, ways of looking at things, philosophical perspectives, going all the way back through anthropological human history of people trying to come up with anything that can help. Thousands, millions of languages. I don't know. All those poems, you're going to look through every possible language and combination of words and poetry and philosophy and get well cards. try another visual presentation, special sort of lecture presentation. A rhyming lecture we like to call The History of the Development of Punk Rock on the Lower East Side of New York City from 1950 to 1975. We start with Harry Smith in 1950, a beatnik weirdo who moved to New York City. His huge collections were insane of Easter eggs and paper airplanes and rare records. He had about 1,060,000. To change America through music was his hope, and to make some money because he was broke, he compiled a triple-decker collection of songs from his records, released as the Folkways Anthology of American Folk. On a Monday morning, just about 9 o'clock, the great ship Titanic began to reel and rock. Husbands and wives, the little children lost their lives. Wasn't it sad when that great ship went down? Smith's plan began to work as foretold. This weird music began to take hold. It sparked an interest in these forms of life underground from the norms, and soon millions of folk records were being sold. So by the early 60s, Joan Baez, Bob Dylan, Phil Oakes, they were all inspired by those old folks. Then one strange duo of downtowners called the Holy Modal Rounders began to make it more anarchistic with weird voices and drug jokes. Mom's out there switching in the kitchen and Dad's in the living room rousing out a bitchin'. I'm out here kicking the gong for euphoria, euphoria. When your mind starts reeling and walking, your inside voice starts squealing and squawking, floating around on a belladonna cloud singing euphoria. That was 1964. Then in 1965, Lou Reed and John Cale in a Ludlow Street dive recorded a similar musical spin, sounding a bit like the Rounders acoustic and violin, with even more New York street drug jive. Hey white boy, what you doing uptown? Hey white boy, you chasing our women around?
It couldn't be further from my mind. I'm just waiting for a dear friend.
I'm waiting for the man. Well, a little bit earlier in 65, the Holy Modal Rounders met some other intellectual thugs on East 10th Street who called themselves the Fugs. The Fugs were recorded by that same Harry Smith, playing the punkiest songs yet to exist. Lo-fi noisy stuff about poetry, sex, and drugs. I don't have a bedtime, I don't need to come, for I have become an amphetamine bum. If you don't like sleeping and don't want to screw, then you should take lots of amphetamine too. Harry Smith recorded an incredible 3-hour Fug session, including Tuli Kuferberg's great song, Nothing. Monday, nothing. Tuesday, nothing. Wednesday and Thursday, nothing. Friday, for a change, a little more nothing. Saturday was for nothing. Fucking nothing. Sucking nothing. Flesh and sex, nothing. The world's great books, a great set of nothing. Social anthropology, heck of nothing. Nothing, 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 lots of it. Nothing. The Fugs were real poets with real topics to speak out, and through the new hippie underground scene, this new crazy music could leak out, beginning the punk idea that anybody could do it without needing much musical ability to it, and this new crazy music was soon being called freak out. In 1966, the Fugs signed to New York label ESP. The same label put out a freak-out band called The Gods, spelled with a Z. The Gods accomplished the feat of making even the Fugs' music sound sweet, with the least musical folk punk racket in history. Meow, 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 meow. It really sounded exactly like that. Far from the West Coast hippie music scene, New York's underground music was far from mainstream. It was intellectual, but noisy and hectic, and then the Velvet Underground went electric and made folk punk more beautiful and more extreme. Strange folk punk tide. In 1968 came David Peel and the Lower East Side. They recorded an album out in the street, screaming and sloppy. Danny Fields signed them to Elektra Records, and it sold a lot of copies with songs like I Like Marijuana and Up Against the Wall, Motherfucker, Inside. A mother, oh, where is my father? Oh, where is my brother? Oh, they're at war. The Stooges were a freak-out band in Detroit, but folks ignored them until Danny Fields brought them to New York and had John Cale of the Velvets record them. While most acid rock was turning into progressive, the Stooges instead pushed the raw and aggressive, and Iggy Pop sang about degradation and boredom. Alright, well, 1969, okay, war across the USA. It's another year for me and you. It's another year with nothing to do. It's another year for me and you. Another year with nothing to do. Well, it's 1969, baby. In 1970, David Peel's second album came with some amazing songs and some a little lame. In most pre-punk histories, David Peel is forgot because he was a hippie singing songs about pot. But his second album is the first album with the real sound that electric punk rock soon became. We are from the Lower East Side. We don't give a damn if we live or die. We are from the Lower East Side. We don't give a damn if we live or die. Before it was something the Clash would also later try to do, this album even had a song that mixed punk with reggae. The cool song, I Want to Kill You. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's all the people of the future generation. You call the people in the world of aggravation. You call the people in a life of demonstration. We got to change the world before annihilation. Gonna get a rifle and I'm gonna get it done. I am out to kill you and we'll have a little fun. I am out to murder you, I'm going to attack. I am out to kill you, you're my monkey on my back. Oh, I want to kill you. Lester Bangs first writes the word punk to describe 60s enthusiastic teenage rock junk. In 1972, New Yorker Lenny Kaye puts out the 60s garage rock compilation Nuggets and coins the phrase punk rock in the liner notes of it, although punk rock would soon come to mean something a little different from the 60s garage rock songs that Lester and Lenny thunk. Like this one. Oh, I feel depressed, I feel so bad. 'Cause you're the best girl I've ever had. Johnny Kaye was also a guitarist, and he began playing music with an East Side poet named Patti Smith, who would use it to mix her wild poetry with simple rock stuff, like the Fugs in a way, but less rough, a postmodern way to take high art and low art and fuse it. Is when the New York Dolls start mixing trash and drag fashion with a rock and roll heart. The Johnny Thunders' David Johansen sound mixed the old style simple rock with the new New York underground and sort of defined the moment when stupid on purpose became the new smart. East Side of New York City began punk fashion as well, with spiked hair and ripped clothes worn by the poet Richard Hell. Hell was in television, the Neon Boys, the Heartbreakers, the Voidoids, and he wrote the song that gave the new 70s punk generation its first anthem, Yell. I was saying, get me out of here before I was even born. It's such a gamble when you get a face. It's fascinating to observe what the mirror does. But when I die, it's to the wall that I set a flip. Cause I belong to the blank generation, but I can take it or leave it each time. Yeah, I belong to the generation, but I can take it or leave it each time. Well, 74, 75, CBGB starts having punk shows with television, Patti Smith and the Ramones. 76, punk fanzine began. Then the whole thing moved to England. England stole all the credit, and that's how it goes. The end. Complete history of the development of punk on New York's Lower East Side from 1950 to 1975. If any of you were at the End of the Road Festival this past weekend, I think it was this past weekend. If you were there, we weren't there, but if you were there, perhaps you encountered a fellow wearing sunglasses, and you might have thought, I don't know, maybe? Anyway, this is the story about when that happened to me in Brooklyn. Today I went to Major Matt's to remaster my old album. On the L train in the morning, I was kind of sure I saw Will Oldham. He was wearing the same sunglasses he had on stage at the Bowery Ballroom. Had he come to walk among the Williamsburgers of his kingdom, and like the burghers of Calais, will a sacrifice be demanded to offer up our dreams and beg for mercy empty-handed? And hapless in our hipness, crowded 5 to an apartment, will relegate our dreams to hobbies and deny our disappointment. Cause the Stones in 65 want total satisfaction, kid. But the Stones in 69 see grace in just getting what you need. But if that's a victory, then I'd hate to see what I'd look like defeated. Cause I know there are those who walk among us who seem to get their dreams unimpeded. Like today when I went to Major Matt's to remaster my old album. On the L train in the morning, I was pretty sure I saw Will Oldham. He was wearing the same rock star sunglasses he had on stage at the Bowery Ballroom. Had he come to walk among the Williamsburgers of his kingdom? You might say now there's a guy who seems to have the world laid out before him. Or you might say he's just a rich kid or a fascist or a charlatan. But either way you say it, if you look at indie rock culture, you really can't ignore him. And even if at first dismissive, after some listens you'll enjoy him. I was thinking this on the L train, intent on bursting my own bubble. How long should an artist struggle before it isn't worth the hassle and admit we aren't fit to be the ones inside the castle? This quest for greatness, or at least hipness, just as ham and too much trouble. But artist you love or hate but can't deny. While those minions in our millions tumble into history's chasm, we might have a couple laughs, but we're still wastes of protoplasm. Like today, I was gonna waste some time and money to remaster this stupid old album. And on the L train in the morning, I was positive I saw Will Oldham. He was wearing the same rock star sunglasses he had on stage at the Bowery Ballroom. Had he come to see the strife here in the gutters of his kingdom, where us noble starving artists are striving hard to feed our egos? Our mothers like our music, and our friends come see our shows. And if our friends become successful, we'll consider them our foes. Go home to our four roommates after paying big bucks for rock star shows. What a nightmare, what a horror. I don't want no part of this. Just get me off this crazy ride. I'm gonna puke, I'm gonna piss. I'd rather kill myself. I'd rather just relax or not exist. But you say you want to do an email interview. Oh, what the heck, I can't resist. Hey, Mom, guess what? Today I did another magazine interview. Honey, that's great, you're really famous. Yeah, and I'm gonna be 42. I kind of thought I was gonna grow up to do stuff that would benefit humanity. But it's getting harder to tell if this artist's life is even benefiting me. Because today, I was gonna waste some time and money to remaster this stupid old album. And on the L train in the morning, I was pretty sure I saw Will Oldham. He was wearing the same big rock star sunglasses he had on stage at the Bowery Ballroom. And since I was feeling in need of answers, I just went right up and asked him. I said, Will, Bonnie, Prince, Palace, whatever, what do you think about it? Is it worth being an artist or an indie rock star? Are you better off without it? Because, maybe the world would be better if we were all just uncreative drones, no dead childhood dreams to haunt us, a decent job, a decent home, and if we had some extra time, we could do real things to promote peace, become scientists or history teachers or run corrupt police at least. Come on, Will, you gotta tell me. I grabbed and shook him by the arm. The L train was leaving Bedford with 10,000 white 20-somethings crowded on. He opened his mouth to speak, but was lost in the rumbling of the wheels. We were thrown together in a corner. I yelled, tell me, man, for real, you're living comfortably, I assume, even if you're not quite a household name. You've reached a pretty high level of success and critical acclaim. And the L train got to First Avenue and a bunch of people piled out. I was staring into his sunglasses and I was really freaking out. I was like, Steamboat Willie, Bonnie, Prince, of all this shit, you're like the king of a certain genre, but even you must want to quit. Like if you hear a record by Bob Dylan or Neil Young or whatever, you must start thinking, people like me, but I won't be that good ever. Then I'm sure the thing is, probably even Dylan himself too stays up some nights wishing he was as good as Allen Ginsberg or Camus, and he's like, dude, I'm such a faker, I'm just a clown in winter teens. These fools who pay for my crap have pathetic, puny brains. And Camus probably wished he was Milton too, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So, will you be straight with me? Now there's just us two on this train, because I was going to spend some time and money today to remaster this stupid old album, and I saw you here on the L train, and I was like, hey, is that Will Oldham? He must at least have some perspective, because it's like living in this town, I get so confused and wound up and uptight, and I just don't know up from down. Then we'd reached the last stop, and the subway was deserted. There was a long moment of silence, and I let go of his shirt. I started to think maybe I'd made some kind of big mistake. I tried to walk out onto the platform, but by then it was too late. His sunglasses seemed to grow darker until he hadn't even spoke. He just came right up behind me and put his hands around my throat and threw me down onto the concrete and kicked my face in with his boot and dragged me down onto the train tracks and tied my hands back with his coat. And I was slipping out of consciousness as he was slipping down my jeans, and he was punching me and humping me, and I slipped off into a dream. So it might have just been a delusion, but I thought I heard him say something like, artists are pussies. Then he climbed back up and ran away. So I lay there in the darkness on the train tracks, cold and broken. The hours passed, and I thought, well, maybe I won't remaster that old album. And I started thinking maybe it really wasn't even Will Oldham, even though he did hold my arms and fuck me just like Will sings in A Sucker's Evening. But whether it was him or wasn't, I couldn't forget the words he'd spoken. Artists are pussies like we're wusses, or we end up getting fucked. And other kinds of folks are dicks, tall, smart, and strong, and born to fuck us up. I know it sounds really terrible, awkward, sexist analogy, but at that moment they were on the train tracks, it made a lot of sense to me. It was just some kind of natural balance, like two types of mental gender that's gone on in all societies in one form or another. Like some dicks were born to conquer. I probably would if I could, but if I'm just a pussy, that's okay. So in a few months maybe I'll put out something good. Thanks, we'll do a couple more. That's Caitlin Kelke of Big Girl on the bass. Watch for Big Girl touring England sometime perhaps. That's Mallory Foyer on the violin and the keyboard. Mallory's in a band called Grasping Straws. They might be touring England as well. There's some Grasping Straws stickers out there on the merch table that you can check out. There's Brent Cole on the drums. Brent is in the Moldy Peaches and the Candy Boys. Maybe they'll be around sometime or other. David Cronenberg's wife played a great set earlier. They're from London, and we're happy to be touring with them. They have some excellent stuff out there too, which we recommend you check out. They have records, CDs, there's some Blang record label baseball caps that they've got. There's some posters they have. And we have some merch items that, well, we have a lot of merch items. That goes without saying. I've always got a lot of comic books and records and CDs and zines, and we've got shirts. There's many things out there. But a couple items maybe I should make special mention of, partially because nobody ever buys them, but maybe that's because nobody knows what they are. Or maybe they know what they are and they're like, meh, not for me. But you may see a weird CD out there, and you may be like, this CD's been on Jeffrey's merch table for years, and I've never seen anybody buy it. Well, that CD is our album of all covers of songs and poems written by Tuli Kupferberg of the Fugs, who we mentioned earlier. So there's a few copies of the Songs of Tuli Kupferberg Jeffrey Lewis covers album out there. There's also my Sonnet Youth zine, where I wrote a bunch of sonnets based on Sonic Youth songs. So for the the crossover audience of people who are really into Shakespeare and really into Sonic Youth, that is the item that you must purchase, Sonic Youth. And then hot off the press, I just published a new book, self-published, but vanity pressing. That's what they call it. And if you want to be mean about it, but self-published, DIY sounds more proud, But it's a book about the comic book Watchmen. It's like my long essay, a long critical essay I wrote, literary analysis. I know that's why you come to rock and roll shows. We've got literary analysis of music history, of comic books. It's the nerdiest, most un-rock and roll thing there is. But if you would like to buy a very long essay that I wrote about a comic book, if you're just that nerdy, I have them on the table. It might not be a legal item. It has a lot of reproductions from the comics, so I just put this out, so get it before I get some kind of cease and desist injunction. Well, let's see. I was thinking, I had this idea that while we show these like illustrated song visual things, I should just make a commercial for the merchandise where we're like showing it. It would be like a TV commercial where we're like singing and explaining the merch items in rhyme while showing them, but we don't have that tonight. So I learned long ago that there's no point in me ever communicating with people in words. Like, rhymes are better. So if you talk to me later, I'll be very uninteresting. You would never pay money to come see me talk. But since I'm up here rhyming, people are like, oh, well, check this guy out. See what he has to say. It rhymes. That's weird, isn't it? Like, maybe if there was a politician that rhymed, they would do well. As you can tell by how badly this banter is going. It'll be basically the same as the next song. It's just me talking about stuff, but in the song it rhymes. So that just makes it more entertaining for some reason. Why do human brains work that way? I don't know. Anyway, we're Jeffrey Lewis and The Voltage. We'll do a couple more. Thanks for listening. because I'm like a tall tree with no giraffe. Without you, and my self-worth has dropped so low it's off the graph. Without you, and it's only been 1 weekday and a half. Without you, so was it Friday or Monday? I'm not sure. Without you, all the days go by in such a boring blur. Without you, I hit the snooze 10 times before I stir. Without you, I get up but I can't recall what for. Without you, she's out of town. She's out of town. She's out of town. Visiting her mother. Is it weird I'm all the way over on this side of the stage? Something feels a little weird. I'm like, if I'm facing forward and the person standing over here says it's great, but keep thinking, why did I put myself over here? I should have been in the middle. Well, 20 odd years of doing this, you'd think I'd learn something once in a while. Okay, I'll do another song here. I'll do two songs, One of them is maybe a little too new, and the other one is probably a little too old. So, just to cover both extremes, so everybody leaves dissatisfied in some way or another. She buys $20 bottles of wine. Her tastes go $8 more than mine. Now what's so bad about the thoughts this brings? And what's $8 in the scheme of things? I gotta judge her or not, lest I get judged myself when I see her looking through the $20 shelf. Now I'm just a bit confused on how this makes me feel. Is it a tiny dollar difference or a huge reveal? Is it just a circumstantial, meaningless decision, or a fundamental barrier of class division? When I was a starving artist, I just couldn't know. I never asked, is that a Malbec or a Grigio? But I built a cool career up and now here we are. But the $20 shelf is still a bridge too far. 'Cause she likes $20 wine. She taps her credit card and signs the dotted line. Now what's so bad about the thoughts this brings? And what's $8 in the scheme of things? I gotta say, judge not, lest thou get judged thyself when I see her looking through the $20 shelf. She's quite a special lady and I'm glad we've met. It's so depressing texting strangers on the internet. Now we've had a couple dates and now we're buying wine. Now I'm finding out her planet's not the same as mine. I go $12 to $15 and I think that's nice. That just seems completely normal and I don't think twice. To me, I'm living large. To her, I'm living small. I mean, to me, it just feels classy buying wine at all. But she likes $20 wine. Limited organic batches, that's a warning sign. You can say that I'm a recluse or a basket case, but this section of the wine store is a scary place. I gotta judge her or not, lest I get judged myself when I see her looking through that $20 shelf. I would go $15, but at 16 I'd stop. But that's an $18 bottle, cause there's tax on top. In Manhattan or in Brooklyn or in Jackson Heights, I say that ought to be sufficient for romantic nights. But she ain't even considering my kind of bottle. What's she think, that I'm a star and she's a fashion model? I had thought, great, we can relate, I'll get a kid and a wife. Now for the sake of $8, I just can't see that life. 'Cause she likes $20 wine. I gave this my best shot, but I just can't keep trying. When you looked me in the eyes, I saw a life of love. Sharing $15 wine and not a buck above. I know they say judge not, lest thou get judged thyself. But the buck stops at the $20 and over shelf. She was creative, and she was brilliant, and she was looking fine. But a dating app should filter for fancy schmancy wine. Pretentious wine. Financial district wine. My broken heart is crying at the shelf of the fancy wine. $20 wine. I thought 12 was fine. And I see it in the eyes of the wine store clerk. He's looking at us and he's thinking, this'll never work. Here's a song I haven't done in a long time. This is an old song that goes back to, I guess I wrote this in 1999, and it was one of the first songs that I tried illustrating. So this is like, I hope I've gotten better over the years, because the artwork is very crude in these illustrations, but it was a very new thing for me to do at the time, so I'll leave you with this one. A 1999 song that I illustrated in the year 2000, so this is pretty ancient. gold. When I got to the Golden City, most of the gold was gone. By that time I had some questions, so I flagged down a race car bum. He said, "Sonny, I don't know where it's going, but I can show you where it all comes from." And he mopped his red forehead and he pointed straight into the setting sun. And people, let me tell you that what I then did saw, it sent such a shock to my system that I almost fell down dead on the floor. Cause the sun had a big chunk missing, about 24 carats wide. And I stared into that hole in the golden sun, and you wanna know what I saw inside? I saw a giant toothpick factory, and it made my very soul feel sick. So when I say I saw a toothpick factory, I mean I saw a factory made out of toothpicks. And that factory was hopping and jumping and roaring and letting off steam. And you know that ain't all now. Let me tell you what else I seen. Behind the factory was a giant mutant monster with 67 separate tails. And each one was wiggling and waving, and each one as long as 23 wells. And at the tip of each towering tendril were a dozen tiny pencils of lead. And each word they wrote was in a different language. And when you put them all together, they said, "You who have arms to wrestle, and you who have wars to fight, and you who have chips on your shoulders, must now line up and stand to my right. But you who are meek and lawful, and you who are soft and kind, if you don't want to see something awful, run and get yourself a rock to hide behind. Cause these colors are just a signal, and these colors are just about to fade." And when I read those words I shivered, and I saw exactly what the factory made. Out of a little doorway at the end of a conveyor ramp, in the center of a ring of fire, about the size of a postage stamp, were 1,000,000 household items packed into a metal Dukes of Hazzard lunchbox. And they were all shut and sealed and fastened with a gold combination lock. And just about every minute, another one came right out of the hole and crashed to the earth beneath it and landed in a lump of coal. And every poor coal miner who happened on a golden stone was made both richer and wiser, and had to murder someone to get it home. And then I had to close my eyelids, and I had to turn my face away. The race car man was crying, and I heard him angrily say, "I suppose you want a glass of water. I suppose you want to eat something warm." I said, "Yes, but not with you, sir." And I ran off to be alone. And I sat under a bridge and I wondered what exactly all of these things were. And I found I could not even remember what I thought they were before. I just want something even, something that won't cause a fuss. The sun can